Hi, friends, and welcome to the Anniversary Podcast. I'm Mary, and this is the space where we celebrate another year, reflect on what it's taught us, and talk honestly and openly about what it really takes to keep choosing each other. Anniversaries aren't just about marking time, they're about honoring growth. So today, I'm thrilled to sit down with Chelsea and Jason. They reached out to me via Facebook because I don't know, when you're trying to get podcast guests, you just send out social media asks into the universe and you just hope that it catches the algorithm on someone's page. And Chelsea was one of those people that the algorithm grabbed and was like, oh, this is so interesting. So thanks you guys for being here. You guys have been married for 12 years and known each other for about 14. Can you guys describe to me what it was like meeting each other? Because you kind of talked about how you were at a game night together. Was it an instant click? Was it a little bit of I don't know, because Jamesy, you were mentioning that you were a little bit antisocial kind of person.
No, yeah. So for me, it wasn't instant, but we had a really good time together, and I think, I don't know, that means a lot, right? When you're hanging out with people, when you're going on dates, right? And you kind of know, I'm just going through the motions here, right? Versus you spend some time with someone and you're like, I want to do that again, right? That's a very different feeling when that happens, right? And that was definitely when we had this game night with all of our friends. We were bantering back and forth, flirting a little bit, we had a connection there. And so, we knew we definitely wanted to spend more time together. I didn't immediately go out and ask Chelsea on a date though. But that was great because we had our friend group, right? It's okay, I know I'm going to see her again as long as there's another activity happening, right? So you get that time to kind of warm up to each other without it being so formal, right? Hey, I'm going to go ask you on a date, right?
Yeah.
So that was really nice for me.
Yeah. No, yeah. And he definitely, I joke with people that it was not love at first sight. The fatal attraction, or you're so attracted to each other.
Yeah.
It was not that. His personality though was what drew me in. Where I was he is a really cool guy that I would just love to keep getting to know, seeing what happens.
Yeah. And you also mentioned, because I usually try and have people send me a little blip of their relationship so that I can kind of understand the couple a little bit more. And from what I gathered, you had also, in what we talked about earlier, is you had come out of a recently scary situation.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure Jason's calming presence of just being a steady presence was just something you were naturally drawn to in that time.
Yeah. And I can't remember if I told you this, but I hadn't laughed in a year and a half, just because the person that I was with before Jason was just very toxic and not fun to be around at all. And so that was one of the first things that I actually noticed about him, is when we were sitting by each other at this game night, I was just laughing. And I was oh my gosh, I remember what it's like to laugh again. This is so freeing, So yeah.
I love that. And so you got, from the time that you started officially dating to the point of getting married, how long was that? Do you remember?
I just told my daughter this the other night. It was 8 or 9 months.
Okay.
Because we started officially dating in February of the year that we got engaged, and we got engaged in October. So we were going to get engaged exactly a year from when we were dating. That's what we had talked about. And then we went to his family invited me up to their reunion in Park City.
Oh, fun.
And after that, we were both oh man, we don't want to not be with each other.
This timeline up, yes.
Yeah.
So Jason put the gas on, and he usually doesn't, but he put the gas on the car and said, hey, I want to propose to you sooner than February.
So are we counting and dating? Is February when we were actually going out? Or are you using my timing, which was
I'm
the first time we met?
using your timing.
There's always a dispute, right? Like, when did you start dating? It's like, well, when you get married, it was the first time you met. That's what I say. It's retroactively goes back, and that's when you started dating, right?
Yeah.
Because that was the start of your courtship, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But there's another date, right, when you actually pair off. But
And it sounds like you guys were pretty confident in each other really soon. I guess really soon is a relative term. I think soon in the eyes of like just the whole world of dating, because like there are people that don't get married for several years. And then there are also people who get married within 3 or 4 months of dating each other. And I'm like, okay, like to each their own.
Yeah.
But like, what was the process like of just understanding that confidence? Because I think for me, and it's not necessarily to speak on whom I've dated, it's just like sometimes and oftentimes people in my generation kind of doubt that confidence in connection with someone. And what was that feeling like?
I think for me, our relationship started as friends. Like we were doing game nights together. We were building a friendship first. And so it made it just very easy to go to the next step of, okay, let's have a relationship now and let's pair off. But yeah, we were going to movies together before we actually like paired off. We were doing game nights. We were going out to eat a lot with all of our friends. And then I even started to like ask his friends, because that's who I was friends with first, of like, how do I get Jason to come to parties? Like, what do I need to do to get Jason there? And his roommate was like, oh man, he loves food. If you have food there. So I like planned this party at my house where we were going to make waffles. And I had this whole like waffle bar thing set up. And his roommate walked in and all my friends came, and I pulled his roommate off to the side and I was like, where is Jason? And his roommate was like, oh, he actually had a family event tonight that he went to. His brother was performing. And I was like, why don't we all go and see his brother perform? Yeah. I wanted to be with him. And my friends were like, that's weird. We're not going to go watch his brother perform. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's right. That's weird. Why would I suggest that? But yeah, we were really good friends before we even, and I think that's what created that solid, like you're talking about, that solid, like, okay, now we're ready to go to the next step with confidence that we both liked each other and we're ready for that next phase. But
yeah, I think Chelsea asks me the question a lot, like, when did you know like that you loved me or whatever? And I had to like think back. It's like, well, it's super gradual, right? I think a lot of people want to be like just some like
instant, like have you guys seen K-pop Demon Hunters?
Yeah.
Okay, it's like that part where Rumi gets bumped by Jinu. And it's like that whole like total like K-drama like sequence of like, wow, there are hearts floating around. I don't think like people always like retro like with perspective, people look back on things and they're like, oh, it was love at first sight. But I love your guys' refreshing take where it's like this gradual build.
Yeah. Well, like K-pop, right? Like they have that initial thing, but even then when they were like getting to know each other, there was a separation first, right? So it's like that I think gives a more accurate representation of like, even if there's like a little spark to start, there's still like this process of getting to know each other, you know? And so like I was kind of old school in my thinking. Like I wanted to be respectful and kind of keep courtship slow, and I wanted to have more of an emotional connection before there was any physical stuff, right? So like kissing, like a kiss for me was like really important. That like signified like, hey, I'm making kind of a commitment in moving forward, or holding hands and things like that, right? Yeah. And you know, I don't know how other people think of it, but maybe we throw that around too often as a way to kind of like artificially connect. I don't think you have to like artificially create that when you like really have a connection with someone, right? It's like you're just happy being in their presence and just being like, I just love being around them.
Yeah.
I love the things we're talking about. I love how they make me feel, right? And I think for me, I was really dedicated to like asking really deep diving questions, which was kind of a surprise for Chelsea, because she's like, why is he asking me all this stuff in my life? And that for her was weird because she came from a relationship where that was not the case. Like they weren't deep diving into like values and what they want and stuff. And so when we were talking, I would just go straight into like, tell me about your parents, your life and your family and hopes and dreams and stuff. And that takes a while to get to know people, right? And that's, I don't know, I think that's the kind of questions people should be asking, right? Because those are the more important compatibility things that if you don't get figured out, right? If you kind of like brush over those things, then they come up later, even like in engagement or in marriage. Like it's crazy how many people we talk to that are like married and we hear from them like, oh yeah, we just weren't compatible on XYZ thing. We're like, how did that not come up in conversations or date? Like that's the most important stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Finances, kids, religion, right? Like,
yeah, I think there are like 5. There was someone who was talking to me recently about like 5 F's as like finances, family, faith, focus. And I can't like, she didn't mention the 5th one, but like those 4 things, like focus, like where are you going in life? Faith, like what's faith going to look like in our relationship? Finances, I think that's a pretty obvious one. And like we'll kind of not necessarily get into the finances thing, but we'll get into kind of like your guys' businesses together and your decisions with that and like how you communicated about that. And then
well, I am a financial coach, so we can deep dive anywhere in that area.
There you go. Great. Oh shoot, what did I say the first one was? Family. Yeah. So like if you want kids, like how are you going to raise your kids? Like what does that look like? And like she was kind of like a marriage coach, and she helped people who were like just about to get married in a temple prep class. Like these are things that you need to focus on. And there were like discussions not being had. And I was like, like these are like questions I ask within like the first 1 to 2 months of dating someone, because I'm like I want to know where like the prospective person that I'm like dating, like what are your goals? Like why, like what makes you tick, and how can we work together with your ticks and my ticks, and like just that. So like I really appreciate you guys bringing that up, where it's like you guys had that confidence knowing that your goals were like the 4 F's, so that we'll call them like aligned, and not aligned in such a way where it's like Lego bricks. I don't know. Through that process, right, taking time, eventually it just clicks with all those things. And especially if you're good at not ignoring the things where there's questions. So you may have like a lot of compatibility in some areas, and then there's areas where you haven't had a conversation yet, and you know you should. And we had those during dating, where it's like, okay, this is like the big bombshell I need to drop, right? Or like a non-negotiable. Yep. And because you like the person and you're not wanting to break that connection, you're like, oh, do I risk this? But it's like, that's the piece that like really tips you over into like the real confidence. Because if you leave any of those things out, where you're kind of like, I'm just gonna not bring this up, or I don't want to cause friction. That's where you're going to run into trouble, because it will eventually have to come up. Right. And it'll and maybe you guys can tell me if this is true, but like marriage and this is what I've heard people say, is like marriage enlarges your problems. Not necessarily enlarges, but it puts a big old spotlight on them, and looks with those big spotlights, it's like, okay, like these are things that we didn't necessarily know about each other, but like what can we do to kind of close the curtain on
Yeah. And I
this
think,
issue.
I think so many of my friends got married and things happened in their marriage where the curtain revealed their big, huge problems, right?
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that Jason and I did well during our dating is we asked all the hard questions. So when we got married, nothing surprised us. Like it was like, oh, that came up in dating. So then you're like, then you forget the little stuff, right? Where it's like, oh, he left the toothbrush out or whatever. I don't know. Or the toilet seat up, right? Those things don't really matter. And the big stuff you're already working on because you worked on it when you were dating. So yeah, so it always surprised me when I had friends who were like, I didn't know this about my husband until we got married. And I was like, how did you not talk about something like that when you were dating? But
and it's not right. You're giving the good, bad, and the ugly. It's not all of your achievements and all the great things about you, right? It's everything, because then someone can decide. That's when you have true buy-in, right? This actually ties into business.
Yeah, tie it in.
Full disclosures, right? Like in commercial business or things like that, right? There's this whole process of disclosure. There's a legal obligation to be like, here's everything. And if I don't disclose something, right, then it's almost like it's not a true contract. And that doesn't mean like all the tiny things, but like all of the major points, right, fully disclosed. Because then someone can sign up and say, okay, this is all the good stuff I'm getting, right?
Yeah.
And then this is the stuff I know are projects that I got to work on with them, right? And we definitely weren't perfect people, right? Like we were bringing plenty of baggage into our marriage, but fully understood and explored baggage.
Yeah.
Right? There was no surprises like, okay, like I could see us continuing to talk about these things and working on them together. And we have a commitment together. We have a goal or a value set together. It's like, okay, yeah, we can make this happen. You can't guarantee things, right? But it's like, yeah, we understand each other and we have a semi-commitment before marriage. Right? We're like, yeah, like I would continue to support and help you with that.
I love that. And I like, this has always been my philosophy in dating. And like, obviously it is something important in marriage is like, I'll just admit to you guys, like you guys, we just met about an hour ago closest, but like, I'm a pretty weird person.
yeah.
And like, I mean, I have my quirks. I have like, thus far, it's the end of April. I have read 28 books this year so far. And nice. I am like the biggest goofball on the planet in like, obviously like my own way. Yeah. But like, I decided a while ago after I got my heart broken, like right after, like a year after I got home from my mission, I got my heart broken because I had been trying to like put on a facade a little bit where I'm like, here are all the best parts of me. And it wore down after a year of dating where I'm like, oh boy, like at like a surface level, like me and this guy are not working together. And I made a commitment to myself after that where I'm like, regardless of the outcome, I am going to be unapologetically myself and like just give my full weirdness. And if it's kind of, I have not listened to like the full song in Rent, so like I don't know the context behind the song, but it's like kind of take it or leave it. Yeah. And that's that was something for me too. I lost myself in the relationship before Jason. And so when Jason and I got together, right, it was, I would do quirks and that person would say, stop it. Like, that's embarrassing me. Like, stop, please stop. Right. Or he wouldn't even say please, but it would be like, just stop. And so I remember we were dating, I think, and I love to sing. Like, I wish life was a musical. I love it. Honestly, like High School Musical, I'm like, yes, if I could live in that world, I would totally do it. But we were at my house playing a game and I just started singing randomly different songs. And my parents were there. I was living at home and my dad was like, oh my gosh. Both of my parents were kind of like, oh no, like what's going to happen here? And he started singing along with me or something, or was like, that's a cool song. And he never once like ever tried to stop me from being myself, being my weird,
quirky self, right?
Yeah.
Where I was like, I can be myself and feel comfortable being myself around him. And he's not going to shut me down or tell me that's silly or please stop, you're embarrassing me or whatever.
Yeah. I love that. And so going into marriage and kind of like doing life together, it just seems like you both just, it wasn't necessarily like one sustaining the other. It was like a dual sustaining of just like you guys were doing life together. And so like was there any like, I guess, hard challenges in like your early years of marriage that kind of shaped things for you, like, and kind of like changed your trajectory into the businesses that you are in now, that like made you feel confident in one another? Like, because Chelsea disclosed to me that Jason left his 9-to-5 job and they started on a whole different avenue of like business ventures, which is, I think, is like so cool. And I think it's very admirable to go that route, because and it's not necessarily that I've heard it a lot, but some people are like, they're very like, there's a lot of trepidation with it. Mm-hmm. And so what was that journey of like knowing each other and like knowing each other fully allowed you to do businesses together and start these business ventures?
Yeah, I was just thinking as you're asking the questions, kind of early days, there were some things we really had to figure out, right? Because it was not, we got married and then it was like marital bliss. It was like immediately there was some friction, because it kind of, marriage brings things to a focus,
mm-hmm.
right? And there's a lot of communication stuff we had to work out pretty early, right? That was just because we had brought baggage with us. There was a lot of communicating through just kind of when we were in a bad place personally, right?
Yeah.
And then how we would lash out to each other, right? And we would get better and better about like figuring out when that was happening and kind of not taking it personally, I guess, maybe is a way to put it, and kind of figure like, okay, you're in a bad place. You're not yourself. Okay, how am I going to support this? And kind of like calling each other out. So like really open communication in marriage is super important,
mm-hmm.
because if you're avoiding conflict and everything's supposed to be peaceful and no fighting, it's like, that's not a really good policy, because you're avoiding a lot of conversations that are supposed to be had. And so a lot of our progress in the communication started happening when we're like finally calling each other out and just like leaning, just like, hey, this is ridiculous what you're doing. Like, what's going on? Mm-hmm. Right. And it kind of shakes the other person like, what do you mean? It's like, no, you're not yourself. Like, what's happening? And then there'd be denial, right? Like there was like, no, nothing's going on. And then like hours later, it's like, okay, I'm not doing okay. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I knew that. So what is it? And then you'd be able to talk about it. Right. And early on in marriage, like the cycles were days. Right.
Yeah.
We were just talking about this in the car. Like it would take days for that turnaround. Right. Like, there's something off and you're feeling off with each other. Right. Like, what's going on? And then one person finally, okay, like this is what's going on. Oh, okay, great. Resolution. And then we learned how to kind of like shorten those cycles. And we had some really good people and mentors that kind of like even taught us that, right? Where it's like, figure out how to shorten cycles, because you can't avoid them. Mm-hmm. Like you're human beings, right?
Yeah.
Like don't expect perfection from each other, but figure out how to shorten the cycles where you can communicate faster and resolve it, right? And never just lock it in a box, right? Like just, and I'm not talking about this. So we would figure out kind of like techniques. So if we were in a bad place and we didn't necessarily want to talk about it at the moment, that was okay. But we had to have like a process where like, okay, I'm stepping away. There's this thing called, we would call it popcorn. So if you're like all in a bad place, you're not wanting to talk right about now, like at the moment, but you have to come back to it. We would call popcorn, where it was kind of like, okay, what you're saying is can't talk about right now because your emotions are high, but we will come back to this. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, awesome. So it's kind of like our sign to be able to tell each other like, okay, we're coming back to it.
Yeah.
And then you will come back to it, resolve it, right? Because I think a lot of marriage problems happen where it's like that conversation surfaces. You kind of start talking about it and you never close the loop. And you kind of just like table it. We're busy, or we don't want to fight for the kids, or whatever other excuse, right? Everything but prioritizing closeness, which is vulnerability, right? And all those things you have to do to really get close to somebody.
Yeah.
And if you do that, right? So those are kind of like early challenges of communication right away. You know, we always tell people that, like, that are like, how's marriage? Hey, it can be tough. We first, like, we don't, you know, rose color it or whatever. It's like, you can go through some tough things, but when you figure those things out, it's great.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a permanent thing, right? You probably will have some things you didn't figure out when you first got married, but as long as you're kind of keeping that commitment to each other, right? You can work through those for sure.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I like that. Yeah. Amen. Well, I kind of wanted to pivot a little bit. So thank you guys for sharing all of that. And I think that's super insightful, because I think a lot of people just like are like, and this is maybe just from what I've been overhearing with conversations that I've had with like my single adult friends, where like they're, and like this is just kind of the vibe I get, so I might be totally off here, but I feel like a lot of like people in my generation are scared of commitment because they're scared of those fights. And not necessarily that I'm also scared, but like and me and my mom have talked about this quite often, but like my parents growing up, never saw them fight once, never saw them get frustrated at each other. Like, never. And for me and my sisters, me and my sisters have talked, and they're like, oh, like, we never saw mom and dad fight. So like in our marriages, we didn't learn like we didn't know how to do it, how to work through it.
It's
and
kind of a disservice to the kids, right? Like, you never got to see that happen. And it's fair to judge our parents, you know, carefully. Yeah. But say, okay, and is your parents' relationship the kind of relationship that you aspire to? Probably some parts, right? But I think there's a lot of our parents' generation where like, they're not as close as they could be. Yeah. Right? I mean, you look 2 generations ago, there was a lot of marriages that were just like purely for convenience. Yeah. Like your grandparents. I'm being very vulnerable talking about my family. My grandparents, like on both sides, essentially hated each other.
Interesting.
If you once people start dying off and the real stuff starts coming up. Yeah. It's like, grandma really didn't like grandpa. It's like, what? How is that possible? They had this perfect, no fighting, right? Did everything they were supposed to in their callings and church stuff. It's like, but they didn't like each other? Like, what in the world? Yeah. Now, that was more secret on my dad's side of the family, but on my mom's side, they fought openly, like all the time, right? Yeah. Now, they were great people. They were awesome people. And I look at them and their commitment to marriage, and I was like, regardless of that, they still were committed to marriage. And the amazing results that came out of that are awesome, right? So like even just marriage from like a commitment perspective, there's a lot to that we kind of lose nowadays. We're kind of like, well, if things don't work out, let's just shuck them off and get the next one, right? And there are reasons, right? Like for divorce stuff, but like a lot of people don't have the commitment level necessary, even if there's those conflicts and stuff, to say there's still a ton of incredible things that come out of marriage by being committed. Yeah. But I think we could safely say, we don't want that. We don't want our grandparents' relationship. Yeah. And then like my parents are a lot better, right? And like showed affection and things like that. But even then they're not like, you wouldn't call them like soulmates or something, right? The thing that we aspire to, right? We're like, oh my gosh, they just know each other's thoughts and things like that, right? It's like, I don't think our parents had that figured out. Not all of them, right? I don't want to judge again, like a whole generation blanket. But then there's like this next generation, we kind of have a higher bar. Like we're kind of like, no, there's something deeper about marriage and relationships. Yeah. That's supposed to be going on here. Yeah. And we're kind of figuring it out now, right?
Yeah.
By saying like, no, it's not okay to, you know, like not be as close as you possibly can, right? Because there's like amazing things that happen when you like really sacrificing it close to your spouse. Like you do kind of have those like weird moments. This happens like all the time. Okay,
I don't know where you're going.
Well, no, like I'll think, oh, I gotta go call Chelsea. I will get calls from her when I'm thinking about her. Yeah. Right. It's like, and it's too many times, right? For just, oh, this is just an accident. It's like uncanny. And I know that's because, again, we're not perfect, but like we're like really trying to be close to each other, right? And grow that relationship. You kind of get like that more soul bonding thing going on, right? Like you do start to kind of have more of that in a marriage. And I think that's an admirable thing to work towards, right? That we have that higher bar.
Exactly.
Even though it may be difficult, right? And we didn't have necessarily the examples to show us like, how do you do that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In the household. And
that's why I created this podcast, is to get into those deeper wells of knowledge of like, what do you do when X happens? Or like, how did you guys work through this, so that like I can take puzzle pieces and like figure out how like I want to take it, and like our listeners will be like, oh, like how did their relationship work, and I can like take little bits and pieces. I did want to go pivot a little bit, but so this is like something quirky that I do on this show, is like do a little bit of like reflecting and like complimenting the spouse, because it's just so cute to watch, and I'm like, oh, we could just end the podcast right here. But Chelsea and Jason, what is one thing about each other that you admire now more than you did when you started your marriage?
Yeah, I think for me, Jason has always been very honest. And there was a term I used in the car, and now I can't. But he like tells you how it is. And when we were dating, that was really hard for me, where I was like, oh my gosh, he's just being honest and like getting to the point and telling me how it is. Like there's no fluffy, like trying to make you feel good, right? Yeah. And at the time it really bothered me. But now looking back, and even now in our marriage, I love that about Jason, because it elevates me to the next level, where I'm like, okay, like he'll be like, are you happy with where things are at right now? And it's like, oh no. And then we can have an open conversation of, okay, what do we need to do to get each other and get ourselves to that next level? And I mean, his honesty is brutal sometimes, but it's so refreshing as well. Like now, after being married for 12 years, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine not having that, because that's what has got me to the point I am today, where I'm a better person than I was when we met and were dating.
I love that. I would call that kind candor. Yeah. Because I mean, like, because I don't know, I've been on this like vendetta for like about a month now, and like I don't know why it's just hitting me like at this moment, but like it's like the nice versus kind difference.
It's a big theme right now on podcasts.
Yeah. And it's like, for me, like I've just been really feeling the need to be more kind. And like with kindness, it comes in as like there are definitely like similar things between nice and kind, but the main difference between kindness and being nice is like, nice is you not wanting to create conflict. It's kind of like putting it in the box because you don't want that conflict. But nice is being like, or kind is being like, I care about you and I value our relationship enough where I'm going to tell you how it is, and I'm going to tell you it constructively, so that you're not like, because you can like, people are like, oh yeah, I'm just like this brutally honest person, and I'm like, okay, so there's no moral compass with your brutal honesty. And like, I don't know, it just rubs me the wrong way.
I like that the kind candor. I like that.
Yeah, you know, when you're giving feedback to someone, right, whether you're doing it for their benefit or for your own, right, and you know that people are just like brutal. It's like, you're doing this for yourself. This is not for the other person's benefit. But kindness, right, is like, I love this person so much, and I've had my own life experience now. I don't want there to be a disconnect, or I don't want them to be holding on to something they don't have to hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's like, I like the analogy of like a doctor, right? Be equivalent like a doctor walking up to someone and saying, like, they see an infection in their leg. They're like, oh, sorry, I won't touch that because I know that'll hurt.
Yeah.
Versus a doctor walks up and is like, hey, I need to operate on that to remove the infection. It's going to hurt. But ultimately, it's like for your best good.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to like avoid a short-term pain.
Yeah.
Right. I know make you uncomfortable for what I know is going to be the best for you.
Yeah.
Right. And I think most people can like see that and kind of know that and be tactful when they're working with someone.
Yeah.
To do that.
I love that.
So
Jason, I'll throw that question at you is like, what's something you admire about Chelsea that you admire more now than you or first married? Yeah.
Like throughout our marriage, I had to learn a lot more about like personality differences for me to start to understand and respect Chelsea and other people, but like especially for Chelsea, because like we're the closest person, right? For me to like, to like understand the world, right?
Yeah.
And as I started like studying personality and stuff, like I started to understand like, oh, like we want to always judge people for how different they are than like us. Like we're a template of like what we think, right? Everyone should be. And we also ascribe motivations to others based on kind of what we think the motivations are. And so as I started to learn more about like Chelsea and who she was and how she shows up, I was just understanding this amazing world that she brings into our marriage of being a different personality type than me. And we use kind of like number personality stuff. She's like type 1. And she's like so amazing, like connecting and like reaching out to people and talking to people. And that makes me so anxious personally. Right. But like when I was able to see that as a gift that she had, like the amazing people that she could bring into our life, like even like this podcast, right? She's like going out and like, hey, I got us on a podcast. I'm like, what? Like, we're so busy and stuff. Like, what's going on? She's like, no, like this awesome person I met. It's like, okay, like she leans more that way, right? And connecting and bringing people and good experiences into our life. She's like, her motivation is keeping things fun and light, right? So she's like this indicator to me when things are getting too serious, right? And she'll just kind of like reflect that by her, attitude. And, she keeps us from, because I'm a lot more rigid and stuff like that. She just keeps us from being like too inflexible in our relationship. She's always introducing new ideas and connections and flexibility. So I would say that's some of the things that I really admire about her. And again, also just like, she's just super, she's just light. She like, I don't know how I put it. Like you're like, I can get down and sad. And Chelsea had to be for a little bit. Yeah. But she's always just kind of got this lightness and happiness about her more naturally. And it kind of brings that to our house. Oh, so not that you don't have bad days or whatever, right? But like generally, we're talking about the two of us, right? Like I would be more down more often, or serious, right, about things. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. And so kind of now as a full circle moment with your relationship, Chelsea, you mentioned to me that you guys bought the venue where you guys had your reception / got married.
Had our reception.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what was that like whole emotion like? Because for me personally, I'm a very emotional person. I would have probably like when I like signed the deed or whatever, I probably would have like started sobbing.
Yeah. No, and we did, and it was crazy because we got married there. And then our first Halloween together with our baby, when we had her 2 years after we got married, we did a whole Beauty and the Beast photo shoot there.
Cute.
That was so fun.
Like a royalty shoot. It was super fun.
And I drove past it like randomly when we were looking to buy a venue, and I drove past it and it was for sale. And there was just this like, I called him immediately and I was like, you're not going to believe this. Castle Park's for sale. We need to get it. And Jason's like, okay, let's talk about this more, you know.
We had been looking for event centers. So we were doing our coaching thing for what we had. So I had left my corporate job.
Yeah.
We were on our own doing our thing, having amazing experiences together, even though we weren't making a ton of money. We were connecting with a bunch of amazing people, serving people, like making a difference in a lot of people's lives. So like we felt we were learning a lot of awesome things, but we felt like this was kind of the next chapter. We're like, we need a building. We need a place to gather, you know, for ourselves, maybe for our clients to do like coachings and trainings, things like that. And so we've been looking for buildings for a while.
Yeah.
Touring buildings. We brought our kids with us.
Nice.
we're just doing the tours, looking at buildings, and all the kids know the buildings we went towards because when we drive past them, we're like, hey, that's one of the buildings that we went to look at. It's like, yeah, that was. So it was like a whole family deal. We were telling them kind of, this is what we want to do. And this is the vision. That was like a really fun moment for us to kind of like dream together and grow closer, kind of like in the vision and focus or direction, right? We were going together.
Yeah.
And then, Chelsea as a connector all of a sudden saw the post for Castle Park, right?
Yeah.
And
it just kind of fell into place like a puzzle piece. It sounded like.
Yeah, there were lots of ups and downs though. And like you were talking about, right before we signed stuff, things happened where we were like, oh, maybe this isn't going to work.
It was, the location was like, yes, this is where it's supposed to be, but it was a nightmare getting into it. I'm not joking. It was tough.
It was hard.
It was hard to go through like the due diligence process and kind of figuring out like, so they were selling the business, right? And the building all together.
Yeah.
And there was just a lot of unknowns. They were kind of getting out of the business. So their books didn't kind of have all the details they needed to, and things were in disrepair and stuff. So as we were kind of figuring things out, it wasn't like, oh, here's this like fairy tale dream. Like you get the key and then you just start making this. It's like, nope, this business is run down and needs some work. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's still a good thing. It's an opportunity, right, to go build something and grow something. So there was just a lot of like back and forth negotiations about that because the previous owners were very emotional about, they had run it for 14 years as a couple, and they had separated. And so their business was kind of like the child that was getting tossed between the two of them, right? So this kind of abandoned business that was needing some new vision and direction, right? And so it was just difficult working with them back and forth and be like, hey, it's probably only worth this because of all the stuff that's wrong. And like, no, like we worked so hard at this. And so we were trying to find that balance point where we're like, okay, let's try to help them, you know, we were trying to be as kind as possible and be like, okay, let's try to help them get as much as they can out of it. But at the same time, not jeopardize our ability, right, to like make something with this, right? So yeah, I mean, it was down to the wire up to like the day we were signing, it was called off, like literally, like he
there
were some
called
terms
me from the office, and I don't know if you're okay with me sharing this, but he was emotional on the phone, and he's like, I think we need to back out, and I was like, okay, is everything okay? And we talked about it for probably like 30 minutes to an hour. And I'm like, hey, if this, like, it feels like we do need to like not.
There were some terms, right? That if we didn't get the way we need, just like, I think we need to like pull out of this. Yeah. After all this,
because our business partner, the terms were important to him and to us and to our investor. And so all of a sudden we're like, we can't even, if these terms aren't there, our investor's not going to invest. Our business partner is like, I'm not comfortable.
We wanted everyone to be enthusiastic about it when they started. And we were kind of like at the table, negotiation is such an interesting thing, but we're all at the table kind of like, and it's like, well, if that's the case, like we got to pause this and like rework this, right? So
for sure.
That was literally at the signing office where it was kind of like this last detail where they were like, no, it has to be this way. And we're like, no, we were pretty clear we needed this to make this work. And they were kind of being hard about it. And we're like, okay, I guess. And then I talked with Chelsea on the phone. It's like, okay, we just need to step away then over this, not knowing what they were going to say. But then the next day they were like, we can work something out.
Yeah, like we can work something out.
Like, we really want to make this work. So it's like, okay, let's get on the phone. And the nature of that phone call after that changed. So this is very much more business than relationship related. But like as a business person, right? Like once we changed that conversation where it was kind of like, no, we're not going to just keep compromising. Like we want to be excited about this. And then we got back on the phone with him, and that, like we said, that was our goal, and this is what we need to do it. Then the tone kind of changed, right? And it started to put the relationship back where it was supposed to, which is not like the seller saying, hey, we're doing all of these favors for you, you owe us, right? Versus us being like, no, we're doing you a favor by buying this business and wanting to rebuild it, and you guys are giving us, so this is a cooperative effort, right? It totally changed the conversation. Yeah. And then we were able to sign, was it like a week later? I'm trying to remember.
No, it was 3 days later.
It was the longest, several days of my life.
Yeah, and then we celebrated with a dinner at Castle Park with our kids and our business partners. So he even came out with, I think his wife was there too. And we were all so excited. We were eating burgers and fries and crying. And like, this is so exciting.
I love that.
Those were the biggest roller coaster days of my life. That was wild. But all through that, right, as far as like us, like it was so awesome for us to be able to like just be in lockstep with each other, talk through all of the ups and downs, and we're kind of going through that roller coaster together. And it wasn't like it as far as like I remember, it wasn't like a conflict thing between us, right? We were kind of like supporting each other in that craziness. And I think that's what like make all the difference, right? And to be able to like actually get into it is because we're working on it together. Yeah. And we didn't allow it to be like, a frustration that we pointed at each other, right? Like we were both in it for, I guess it's like what we were earlier talking about. We were in it for the benefits and the risks that we knew. Yeah. Right. Like we had jointly decided that. So as we're going into it, I was like, why are you doing this, Jason? You're crazy or something, right? It was like, we're both like, we're totally crazy doing this. Right? Like,
we're totally crazy together.
Telling us we're crazy. Yep. We're crazy.
I love that. That's like going to be like a core story for like your family history is like, that's so funny. But thank you guys for this conversation. This has been like so cool. I think kind of just like the overarching theme of our discussion today has kind of been like it's not necessarily legal, like written in legal documentation and legalese that saying that when you're in a relationship, you have to fully disclose what the other person, like who you are to the other person. Like it's not written out contractually, but like when you fully disclose yourself willingly and not being like coerced or whatever, like by a legally binding contract, like there's a lot of magic that happens. And it seems like you guys are just on the same team. Like when we were kind of going off of like the roller coaster analogy, it's like you guys are sitting in the roller coaster side by side together, and you're going through the ups and downs and all the whirly twirlies. Yeah. So thank you guys. Like I mentioned earlier, I have a couple of questions for you guys that are like questions that I ask every couple on the show. They're just kind of more things. Jason, you were starting to talk about actually two of my questions, and I was like, wait, time out. We gotta save it for the end. No spoilers. Okay, so first one is, when things get hard, what is the core reason, that one thing about your partner and your life together that makes giving up not an option for you?
Jason's 100% my person. And so I can't even imagine a world where he isn't in it. And I've shared this with him. And so for me, that alone is like, he's the first person who fully understood me, who wanted to get to know me, who has supported me from the time we were dating through everything that I wanted to do. And it's like, I'm not going to lose that. And then I'm not, no matter what we go through, it's like that's something that is more important than all of the lows in a relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I'm going to fight for that and make sure that I keep that friendship and that like there's no one else that I would want by my side. And so I'm going to fight for that.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that.
I'd say ditto on that front, but I think very specific for me, and this is kind of my personality.
Yeah.
Is like when I made the commitment for marriage, it wasn't like some conditional statement, right? I'm kind of like, well, if you do the right things and all this stuff, right, and you support me, like, then I'll stick with it. It was like 100%. This is like, we're committed.
Yeah.
And that may sound kind of more out of like obligation, but I'm not saying that way. I'm saying like, I chose her and I'm going to stay committed to her no matter what, right? Even if there's tough things. Because, I mean, how else does that work if not, right? Because you're going to go through some pretty tough things, I think, in marriage, right? Like just life, right? And you happen to be with someone when you're married, right, around life. So you can't guarantee, right, that everything's going to go great. But with that commitment, then it changes every time there's some type of struggle, things like that. There's this urgency in this direction to be like, to solve it, right? Because there's not some exit door, right? A lot of people kind of like have an exit door, right? And again, I'm not saying there's not cases where something like that escalates to that point, but I was like, I think in 95% of cases, people have a little too much like of an open door, exit door policy where it's like,
oh,
no,
if things don't work, then just
yeah.
beep.
Yep. And because again, the way we approached it, full disclosure, we knew everything's like, these aren't things that are like earth shattering that were never brought up or something, right? It's like, no, this is a commitment. We're going to work through it. And because of that, then we work together on continuing to improve ourselves so that we enjoy that time more together.
Yeah.
Right. It was kind of like a logical answer, but
no, that's okay. I love it. I think, and I mean, commitment to anything is a fairly like logical thing. And like when you're committed to a business, like you have to put time and effort into growing it. And especially when you commit to buy a freaking wedding venue, like there's a lot of like commitment to building that business, because if you don't build the business, you're gonna go bankrupt.
Yeah.
it's the principle of faith, right? Like faith is a principle of action.
Yeah.
Right. You need to be acting as if things are working out and you're wanting to be the best they can, both in marriage and in a business, because nobody else is, right? Like the rest of the world, oh my gosh, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. If you just wanted to feed yourself all day about like how men and women are so different, or the world economics is such that is, whatever excuse you wanted to, right, for why your business or your marriage should fail, you will find those things if you want to. So like you need to be committed to like, again, kind of like that faith idea is like, nope, like marriage is great and can be great. And then you, again, with business, is like you can have a successful business. And those are the things that change how you act, right? If you really act in that way. So really
and I love that. And so you kind of talked about it a little bit. And besides the popcorn method, what is one practice or mindset that has helped you guys the most in choosing to stay close when you're feeling disconnected?
Well, the popcorn one's a good one that we've done. I think too, it's okay for the other person to be happy if you're not happy. That was something that was really hard for me to understand our first year of marriage, of like, wait, if Jason's sad, then I need to be sad. Or if Jason's happy and I'm not happy, then I'm going to pull him down and make sure he's miserable, right? That was like the first year of marriage thinking. And then when I learned from mentors was, no, he can be happy and you can be miserable and work through your misery to get to his happiness. You don't need to pull him down and vice versa.
I don't know if this exactly answers the question, but the thought that came to me as a result of the question was, I've had to get very good at apologizing because like you're going to make mistakes and say stupid things or do stupid things. And the quicker you can get at apologizing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like the disconnect, right? There's some friction or something that happened, right?
Yeah.
A lot of that is just being like, and it's not even like, hey, there's nothing to talk about here, apologies. But it's like, hey, I didn't handle that well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was emotional. I said that in frustration, whatever. This thing's still important for me to talk about, but I did not handle that well, right? Like, and apologize for the things that you know you did wrong, right? Yeah. I think makes a big difference. And then it also allows you to then start having those conversations about the thing that you want to change, right? The honest conversation you want to have once you've kind of reconnected at that level, right? Mm-hmm. Then you can have that, the follow-up conversation. So
I love that. I love that. Thank you guys so much for sharing. I have one last question. It's kind of a doozy. So just like obviously like take a moment to think about it. But the question is, knowing what you know now, what is one thing you wish you could tell yourself on the day your relationship first began?
Wow, that one's like a deep one.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's kind of like a what would you change type of a thing, right? Like advice you'd give yourself.
I think if I could go back in time, I would tell myself that it's okay to give him space and that space is important for connection in our marriage. I think I was so desperate to make sure that he didn't leave, like in our dating relationship and even in our first year of marriage, that I held on too tight and was offended when he like wanted to play games with his cousins or do fun things with other people. It's like, well, or even it was like, I just need time away from you for just a minute. And I'm like an extrovert. So I'm like, what are you talking about? You need time away from me. Like, so if I could go back in time, I would tell myself like, just chill out and find yourself a group that you can connect with when he needs disconnection.
Yeah.
This is a tough question for me. I'm trying to think. I'm kind of one of those people. It's like, I don't think I'd do it any other way. Right. So it's like, what advice would I give myself? Repeat the question one more time because I want to make sure.
Knowing what you know now, what is the one thing you wish you could tell yourself on the day your relationship first began?
Yeah. I think for me, because this is my own personal struggle of feeling kind of worthy, I would probably give myself some advice to be like, hey, you don't have to be perfect and have this all figured out.
Yeah.
To date someone. Because I was just super concerned about screwing up somebody's life. That was like a weird thought. You're talking about like your quirkiness and stuff like that. It's like sometimes I think we're really hard on ourselves, right? Of kind of like all of our negative traits or whatever, instead of seeing like what we can bring to someone. So I think that would be like what I would tell myself is like, hey, like you're doing pretty good. Like you've got a lot of good things to give someone in their life, right? Don't beat yourself up as much as you are. So
I love that. And thank you guys again so much for coming on. I think this conversation is like so important to be had, of like just fully like understanding yourself, but also like like figuring out yourself all along the way, but also while you're doing that, fully disclosing everything. And so thank you guys for having this conversation with me. Where can people find Castle Park Venue? Do you guys have a website?
Yeah, we have a website and social media, so they can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Castle Park Events and Weddings. And then, or I think it's Castle Park Weddings. And then our website is www.castleparkevents.com.
Yeah, and it's Castle Park in Linden,
Yeah.
Utah. So if you search for that, like it'll come up.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And that'll be linked in the description below. So if you ever need a wedding event or just an event center, you can just click the link in the description and it'll be there. Well, thank you guys again for celebrating this year with us. Anniversaries aren't just about how long you've lasted, they're about how you've grown. So whether you're married, dating, single, or somewhere in between, I hope this conversation inspires you to reflect on what you're building and to remember that love is less about perfection and more about intention. Another year, another layer, another opportunity to choose each other. And if you know a couple whose story should be celebrated, I would love to meet them. Send this episode their way and have them fill out the link in the description so we can celebrate their next anniversary too. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.